So let me just start recording, okay. Very well, so welcome to our public webinar on the web services that Clarivate Analytic has available. Clarivate Analytic is the formerly IP and Science business of Thomson Reuters. So we recently changed our names, although our web services offering is exactly the same as our products are the same as well. So today I'm going to talk to you about the web services we have for government and academia. So we're going to quickly have an overview of the different web services that we have available, and then we're going for some live examples. So I'm actually going to use some software, in this case Postman, to test, to make some requests to the web services so that you can actually see the data that is coming from those web services. And then we'll have, as we said before, some time for questions. So first of all, why would we use web services? First of all, to help our customers take full advantage of their product subscriptions and reusing their data in a variety of other systems. So the Web of Science data, for example, isn't the kind of data that needs to be used in the Web of Science. It can be useful for various purposes, such as displaying it on your portal, public portal, or maybe to integrate with your own repository. We'll see a couple more examples afterwards. To provide useful and high-quality, timely bibliographic and bibliometric data to enhance your research systems. So we do trust our data, and we hope you do as well, and that is the reason why we feel it's valuable to integrate this data in your existing systems and take more advantage of it since you are subscribing to these products anyway. And last but not least, to provide you with these tools that enable you to integrate smoothly with your existing systems. So it's not our goal just to have the data and maybe allow you to export it, but to provide better tools so that you can integrate it better with your own existing systems. So to give you some example, we're going to talk about the web services coming from Web of Science Core Collection. This is a multidisciplinary database. It has cover-to-cover indexing, funding acknowledgements, all the citations back to 1900, and with an unbiased selection of journals, but also conference proceedings, books, etc. We're also going to talk about insights data, which has normalized bibliometric indicators back to 1980, and some collaboration indicators, some open access indicators, some other indicators that we'll see further ahead as well. We also have web services coming from Converis, although this will not be the focus of today's webinar, but Converis is our current research information system. So it's a research management system, and you can combine it with Web of Science and other sources and then export data from this system as well. But the web services coming from all of these systems can be integrated into your content management system, in your homegrown system, in your Vivo portal, in your internal repositories, such as a DSpace, Fedora, ePrint, or also connected to ORCID. If you want to know more about our web services offering, even after this meeting, feel free to jump to this website over here. So let me just open it for you. So in this website, we have an overview of our web services. We have information on AMR, Insights API, Web of Science Web Services Lite and Expanded. We're going to be talking about these in the future with technical documentation links over here. So before, when you were subscribing to one of these web services, we would give you a document that would be either PDF or a Word document. Now all this documentation is online, so you can just click on technical documentation and see the technical documentation available for that specific web service. You also have our data policy, some use cases, and even some sample data. So you can play around with the data and understand the value of each web service. So you can merge the information from different web services and see exactly what you're needing and which web services, or what is the combination of web services that would fulfill your needs. So considering that there might be different levels of experience with web services in the audience, let's start with a quick overview on what a web service is, or an API. Sometimes we will call it API, some others web service. We often use them interchangeably. Basically, let's say they mean the same thing, kind of. So web service would be a type of API, but an API is an application programming interface. But it operates over the web. So we got a definition from Stack Overflow that's something like a geeky forum. The source is over there, and they say that a web service in plain English would be a function that can be accessed by other programs over the web. So basically, it is like a channel to get information from a source, like a database, which then can be consumed in a client application. So what web services do we provide? We have 3 web services coming from the Web of Science and 1 coming from Insights. So the ones coming from Web of Science are Links AMR. AMR stands for Article Match Retrieval, the Web of Science Web Services Lite, and the Web of Science Web Services Expanded. These 2 are similar in use, but the Expanded, of course, provides much more information, much more metadata, and we'll see a couple of examples for you to actually see the difference between these 2. We also have a web service coming from Insights, and this is what we call simply the Insights API, and this contains normalized data coming from Insights as well as open access flags, etc. So let's start with Links Article Match Retrieval, aka Links AMR. So Links AMR is a web service that will match your bibliographic metadata, like a PMID, a DOI, to the Web of Science core collection identifiers, which we call UTs. So UTs are an ID from the Web of Science, and they identify uniquely all the publications from Web of Science core collection. So you will have, for example, a PMID or a DOI, or you can even start with a UT, and then the response will give you links to the Web of Science, and further analysis can be then pursued with the Insights API or Web of Science Web Services. So there are different use cases for Links AMR. One of them would be, for example, if you want to add time cited to your web page, to your public web portal, you could call Links AMR with a PMID, with a DOI, or even with a UT if you have it, and it would give you the time cited. Another thing would be to add a link to the source page, to that articles page, for example, in the Web of Science. So if you would call Links AMR, you would have a URL that would lead you to the Web of Science page of that specific record. Also, linking to Web of Science or JCR. So imagine you want to link to the same URL, so you want to link a journal, but not to the source of that article, but to the JCR page of that specific journal. You can do that as well with Links AMR. Or as a way to retrieve those UTs that we were talking about and then call, for example, Insights API, which is a web service for which you need the UT to start with. So what can you call the Links AMR with, and what will it return? You can look up for DOIs, UTs, PMIDs, the article number, ISSN or ISBN, author, year, etc. So all this information that you have on the left side, well, a combination of these, of course. If you only start with year and year alone, of course, it will be hard to get some proper identification. And you will get time cited. You'll get UT again, DOI, PMID, the source URL, so the link to the Web of Science page, the citing articles URL. So this would be the link to all the citing articles that we have in Web of Science, the related record URL, title, ISBN, ISSN, etc. Again, all this information is available on the website that I've shown you before. So let's look at an example. In this case, Johns Hopkins University had this portal, and they wanted to include the information on a specific journal, and they wanted a link to JCR on Nature in this case. So this link over here that says see also the journal impact factor from Journal Citation Reports sorry, is actually a URL which is returned by LinksAMR when you're calling JCR with Nature. So if you click here, it will take you to JCR. And this is their own public portal. Another example would be to have a Vivo portal, for example. The Vivo is a research network portal. And in this case, we have an article over here, a journal article, implementation of an electronic system for medication reconciliation. And you have the number of times cited, 38 times cited. This was also retrieved with LinksAMR. So you would call that specific article either with a UT, with a DOI, with the title itself, and you would get the time cited. And you also have here a clickable link for Web of Science. So if you click on that Web of Science link, you will be redirected to the Web of Science page of that specific record. Another example here, this time from Queen's University of Technology in Australia, is a public portal that has an article here, and then the authors, the abstract, but what they're getting here is the number of citations in Web of Science. Again, number of citations retrieved from LinksAMR and clickable so that you can go to the cited articles in, the citing articles in Web of Science. So we'll get to some examples towards the middle of this webinar, some live examples where we will be able to check these URLs, see how it looks like, but this is just the first part as an overview. So let's keep it light. Speaking about light, the next web service will be the Web of Science Web Services Lite. And this one is a web service coming from the Web of Science core collection. It will only support data from the core collection, and it will give you the core article level metadata. So then you could use this metadata in your public-facing applications, such as your institutional repository or your research network system like Vivo system. So it would mostly be used to populate your institutional repository. If you already have some data, imagine you have title and some authors, but you would like all the authors, or you would like maybe DOIs, or you might have DOIs, but you would like some other information needed for your repository. You can also, of course, check it with Web Services Lite, like pages, issue, volume. It can also be used to populate CRIS systems, either a third-party one or a homegrown, and to populate research portals, as we've said before. So the available information coming from Web of Science Web Services Lite is the UT, the article identifier from the Web of Science, the article title, the record title, not necessarily an article, the document type, the journal issue, article page span, the date of the source publication, year, title, the volume, author names, keywords, the contributors' names and research IDs as well, the document DOI, article number, ISSN and ISBN. What about the expanded? So as I said before, they're similar in use, but expanded has a lot more information. So the use cases would be the same, but because Web Services Expanded also has information on cited references, on citing articles, then it can also be used for bibliometrics. So that is an extra use case. And this is the information that is returned from Web of Science Web Services Expanded. So it's not about only UT, title, issue pages, date, DOI, source, etc. You also have time cited. You also have book group author, editor, information on the conference here. You have the book series, meeting abstract, article number, cited references, keywords plus. Those are keywords that Clarivate Analytics includes by running an algorithm through the cited references, email addresses, funding acknowledgements and grant agency and grant numbers. Of course, all this information can be found on the technical documentation in the website that I mentioned before. Still, you have here a URL connecting you directly to that one. ORCID IDs are a very important one as well that I was about to forget. Some examples of this. So this is a co-authoring network from a Vivo system. And of course, you can only have a co-authoring network if you have all the authors in the publication. So with Web Services Expanded, you can download all the authors that are co-authoring papers and create a network such as this one, created automatically using a Vivo system. Now, this one is an example of a citation network, which we can get because Web Services Expanded is giving us cited references, so and citing references, of course, as well. So we can then create a network like this, understanding who is citing who, and explore that network, just like if we were in the Web of Science, of course, but in a different environment here. So we'll be able to see some more detailed use cases of web services usage. But for now, let's go to Insights API. So Insights API is the web service that is coming from the Insights environment. It's primarily intended for internal use only, so mostly for internal profiling, for dashboards, evaluation projects, etc. And it returns item-level metrics for the documents in the core collection dating back to 1980, excluding emerging sources citation index, since this is the data that Insights contains. So as we said before, the use cases would be evaluations or assessments and reporting dashboards. So what we mean by item-level metrics, we get the UT as well, but we get the document type cited, but then we have the journal normalized citation impact and the category normalized citation impact. So these are normalized indicators where, we're analyzing the average number of citations, so the expected number of citations for that journal or for that category, and considering the date of that publication and the document type. So we have the number of expected citations for that type of document, published year, and journal or category, and then we understand how many citations this specific article has or document, and then we understand how it compares to the average. So we normalize this metric. So by normalizing this metric, we have a journal normalized citation impact or a category normalized citation impact. We also provide the impact factor, the journal impact factor, the percentile, and information on whether it is a highly cited paper or a hot paper, yes or no, an institutional collaboration or international collaboration, industry collaboration, and whether it is open access or not. If we want more information on any of these indicators provided by Insights, feel free to come to our indicators handbook. It's also available from Insights itself, and it will have a detailed explanation on all the metrics. So before we go to some live examples, let me just give you some general information about our web services. Regarding our Web of Science data integration, when you're using public portals and, displaying this information in your public portals, these are the fields that can be reused for your publications. So the UT, the UID, the unique identifier, the title, issue pages, publication dates, DOI, etc. The thing with time cited is that it can be shown, but it cannot be harvested or manipulated in any way. Again, this list of fields is available in the website I've shown before. If you need direct links to technical documentation and you didn't have the other URL with you, feel free to come to this set of links with technical documentation on all the web services available. So now let's go for some examples, some live examples. I'm going to use Postman to call these APIs and check some results. Just a heads up on authorization. So our web services use authorization. So Links AMR, Web Services Lite, and Web Services Expanded use a username and password for authorization. This username and password is given to you or to the administration of your account, the administrator of your account, when you're entitled to use these web services. And the Insights API uses a token as authentication. So let's try Links AMR. We've talked about the use case, and the use case for this would be to look up the information by citation metadata. So imagine I have a DOI or a PMID, and I also have my own local ID, and I want to have the UTs, or maybe I want to have time-cited counts for my public portal, or I might want to have embedded links to Web of Science. The UTs would be to maybe return this metadata and query Insights API. So let's check how this would work. So let's start with the first one. I have my local ID and I have my DOI. Let me copy my DOI. Now I'm going to use this REST client over here. So I'm going to call this this URL, and this is the body of my request with the authentication part over here. So I need to have my username and password configured. These are just pointers. These are variables to my environment. Then I need to say what I want to return. So I want to have time cited, the UT, the PMID, and the source URL. And I'm going to give them the lookup data, which will be that DOI. If you have any questions on how the body should be, you can always go to that overview website that we have here. And if you click on technical documentation on article match retrieval, you will have web services operations and the request example for data for the core collection, a request example for DCI, for JCR, etc. So if you have any questions, you can always go to the technical documentation and an example will be there. So if I post this, what do I get? I get the PMID, I get the UT as requested, I get the time cited, 85 citations, and I get the source URL. So if I copy this source URL and I paste it over here, you see that I will get that article with that DOI from Malaria Journal. And this is the article in Web of Science. So I could also use the time site to expose in my public portal, or maybe use the PMID to complete the record I have in my table, or maybe the UT. Other things I could use AMR for, I could match metadata. So I don't really need to go directly to a DOI. I could use the article title here, or and the source title and the year. So let me try with the one I have. I'm using this article title. I'm using the source title. And I'm using the year, which is 2011 if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So here I have the related record URL in this case, because this time I've chosen to return different fields. So I've included the citing articles URL and related record URL. So I have the PMID, the source URL as I had before, time cited, which is of course the same, and the UT, DOI again, but I have citing articles and related records. So if I copy this citing articles URL, '85 citing articles, you will see that it's exactly the same thing as clicking on the 85 times cited. Same thing for the related records. So the related records are basically records that are related to that one, and we have discovered that they are related to that one by analyzing the number of shared references. So they don't necessarily cite each other, but they have shared references that we identify on based on cluster analysis that these can be of interest for you as well. You can also have JCR data. So in this case, if I search for a specific ISSN, or if I search for the name of a specific journal, I can have the impact graph URL, for example. So I would have a link over here, impact graph URL. And again, if I copy this link, I will be redirected to the JCR page of this specific journal. So again, quite useful to have in your public portal when you're displaying a specific journal. So I think that's enough on AMR. If you have further questions on AMR, you can put them at the end of the session. Let's talk a bit about Web of Science web services. So you can query publications authored by researchers affiliated with your organization, for example. And for that, you can use organization enhanced name and limit to a given time period, for example. So first of all, let's clarify what is organization enhanced. So organization enhanced is like an umbrella organization. So when researchers write a paper, they can have different variants on their papers. And basically, we are concatenating all these variants under the same name of that organization, which means that when you search for that organization, you'll get all those variants at the same time, and all recognized as being one only institution. So let me just go back to the web services over here and use Web of Science. So first thing I need to do is to run the authorization. So I have my encoded password in the headers. With this, I will get a token, and with this token, I will use it in the header. So here's my temporary token, and with this token, I will use it in the headers of the next web services I'm going to request. So if we use, when we use Web of Science Web Services Lite or Expanded, the same thing, the fields we can use to search are all the fields available in the advanced search of the core collection. So if we go to the Web of Science and we select Advanced Search, all the fields available here, all these field tags, are also available and searchable through the web services. So we have TS as a topic search. We have author identifiers if you want to look for a specific ORCID. We have DOI search. You can search on year published as well, on a specific conference. As I said, all the fields available here, including organization enhanced, for example, for which you have a specific index. And if you're looking for Imperial College, for example, you would have it here, you can click on a D and see all the variants that are included in that search. And if you click Add, it would be included to your organization enhanced search. But let's go back to the web services then. If I want to run a topic search and filter it by year, so country, France, and publication year 2013, I have 351 results, and here are the records I get. So I have the UT, and then I have the label, which is a title, the first label, and this is the title. I have the document type, which is article. I have the date, the year, the source title, volume, all the authors, all the keywords, DOI, ISSN over here, etc. And this is for the second record, as you can see by the closing of this tag. So let me copy one of these records to have it here on Notepad, just because it's easier to see when it's like this. So you see all the fields will have a label as an identifier of the field and then the value of that field. So now let's make the same search but for a specific organization, for example. So in here, I can search for Imperial College London, and I'm filtering for a specific time span. So from the 1st of May to 1st of June. And when I run this search, I have 2013 records found, same thing, title, document type, the year published, month published, journal, number of authors, etc. All the information will be here. You can also search by other fields, so everything that is there, like ORCID, for example, so you can search for a specific ORCID. And at the end, you can always close the session just to make your temporary ID invalid. So what about Web Services Expanded? What can we say about that? For Web Services Expanded, same thing. We still have a temporary token. You can use the same thing, so you can use the same search. Let me run exactly the same search, and country, France, and year 2013, if I'm not mistaken. I'm only getting the first 10 records, so I'm starting on the first record 1, and I want the first 10 records. And as you see, it is a lot more information, so I'm going to copy this information, paste it here on Notepad. I'm only getting 10 articles, as I said. So each of these lines is a record. Let's get some line breaks here. And you can see that we have the UT. Again, you have the cover date, issue, the month published, the article, in this case, the document type, published year, volume, page span, etc. You have the source title, in the article title here, all the authors. And the authors have the order of the authors as well, so they will have the first author, second author, third author, etc. The ones that do have email addresses, those will be here. You have information on the publisher, document type, of course, language, addresses. So in this case, we have 4 different addresses. You have the full address, sub-organization, CP, country, zip location, and whoever is associated to that address. You'll also have information on the organization enhanced, and category information over here. The abstract will also be passed on the Web of Science Web Services Expanded. This is also unique to the Expanded. It does not exist in Lite. You'd have Keywords Plus too, whilst before you only had author keywords. And you would have ISSN, EISSN, DOI, ORCID's researcher IDs, etc., if they exist in that publication. So here we have another example with 3 sub-organizations under the same address. The organization itself, so organization enhanced, and here we have the ORCID, for example, of that author, and the researcher ID of that author as well. So this is a normal query on Web Services Expanded. You can also search not only for the topic search, but you can search for organization enhanced like we did before, or for a specific author identifier. So if I get that author's ORCID, I can search for this ORCID directly and get all the publications for that ORCID. Again, it's not as easy to understand as Web of Science Web Services Lite, but if you transform it in normal XML, so if you lay it out as the XML should, you see that it's much easier to understand like this. So these are all the publications of that author. Well, the first 10 publications of that author, because we were filtering by the first 10. There is a limit of 100 records per request, well, per response, actually, and that is just for optimization purposes. You can also look for cited references or citing articles, look for related records, search by an ORCID like we did before. So all of this is searchable, and you get all that information that we've seen before. So just to finish, let's end with Insights API. So imagine you were missing, you had some data in your internal repository. You wanted to complete it with normalized metrics, and you were going to use Insights API for that. You don't need any authentication because, as I said, the authentication is made using an Insights key, which is provided to you, to your institution, actually, when you are entitled to it. But imagine you wanted to add some information to that. First thing you needed to do would be to call Links AMR, for example, or Web of Science Web Services, or the Lite or Expanded to get the UT, and then you could look it up by UT. Another thing you could do would be to call Insights API directly with your Insights key with a starting year, record count, and starting record. That means I will get the first 100 records. And this will give me the information, so the article level metrics on all the UTs associated to my organization. Again, this is using Organization Enhanced, so it's very important that the Organization Enhanced profile is complete. You get the UT over here, the article type, number of citations, expected citations, journal impact factor, the percentile, the category normalized citation impact, journal normalized citation impact. You have information on whether the article is a highly cited paper, hot paper, international, institutional, or industry collaboration, and open access, where in these cases 0 means false or no, and 1 means true or yes. So you have this information for all the articles, well, all the documents associated. These are all articles actually associated to your institution. So that is why it's so important to have the UT because that is the common ground between the publications. Now, what if you don't want all these UTs at the same time? You don't want all the information on all the publications associated to your institution. You might just want one or two just to complete some specific records. You can also look it up by UT. So what I'm doing here is calling the Insights API, again, using this Insights key. I'm using JSON, and I'm specifying the UT I'm calling. So here is the result. I have the same thing, same kind of information for that specific UT. However, if I select another random UT, well, not so random, I have one here prepared. I just need to add a comma and add it here. Press send again, and here I have the data for that UT as well, which I can now import to my institutional repository. So these were most of the examples I had here. I have some more prepared in case you want further information on those. So we've checked how to use Web of Science web services light and expanded using organization enhanced name or another kind of search, filtering or not within a given time period. If you need any more information on web services, feel free to contact me or your account manager, or just go to our web services documentation website that I've shown you before. If you need help with setup and access, this is our tech support URL. You just need to indicate how you want to use the service, whether it's to populate a CRIS, an institutional repository, or a Vivo system, or a homegrown system, the name or email of the person at the organization that will be implementing the service. And if you're using a third-party system, it would be nice if you would indicate that as well. Of course, keep your account manager in the loop so that they are aware of everything that happens there and can help you telling you what would be the best web service or the most suitable web service for you to use. So now we have time for some questions. Feel free to just unmute yourself or drop them in the chat. I'm just looking at the chat here to see if we have some questions already. If not, feel free to unmute yourself and place them. Okay, first question here. Can I only query Web of Science core collection data with the web services? So, sorry, with Web of Science web services expanded, you can actually query more than Web of Science core collection data. With Lite, yes, only core collection data. Same thing with Insights API because Insights only contains core collection data. I'll give it a couple more minutes for people to think about a couple of questions, or even if you want me to go through a couple other examples, or if you have any other use cases in your mind that you would see if we could do it with the web services, feel free to ask around. Okay. If you don't have any questions, then as usual, feel free to email me or your account manager if you have any questions on any further questions on web services. My email was in the invite, and if you have any further information, please check these contacts. Hope you have enjoyed our public webinar on using our web services, and have a great day. Thank you very much.